Hello everybody and welcome to Friday's edition of the Pritchard Cycling News Show. Don't forget the Win Your Dream Bike draw for October has closed now. The draw takes place live here and across the rest of our social media platforms on the 2nd of November around 6 p.m. UK time. So make sure you tune in for that if you have entered to find out who won the brand new Pinarello F12. Also, if you've not done already, please hit that subscribe button. I had a little bit of a goal of 35,000 subs before the end of the Giro, but clearly that didn't happen. So how's about we try and make 35,000 the goal for the end of the year. If you've not done already, hit that subscribe button. You don't even have to watch the videos. Just help me out. If you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours in any way I can. Not physically scratching your back, that's just weird. Anyway, let's crack on with some news. Boosh. So first up in the news, and let's talk La Vuelta. Big drama yesterday on stage 9. We're going to cover that shortly. But first up, let's take a quick recap as to what happened on stage 8.
So stage 8 was a summit finish. This was one for the GC riders. They were going up the first cat climb of Moncavillo. As you'd expect, a breakaway went, as always, and they managed to get themselves 5 minutes up the road, 3 minutes up the road on another group that was chasing them at 60 kilometres to go, down to 50 kilometres to go, and that gap was down to 2 minutes and 42 seconds. And it was Movistar who were driving the pace on the front as we got to the sharp end. You can see there Jumbo-Visma as well, ready to pounce and ready to attack. One of the riders to attack was Hugh Carthy. He was shepherded by, as you can see there, Sepp Kuss. He'd eventually get caught back by the GC contenders of Carapaz and Roglic, and the fight will be between them until, right in the background there, you can see Vlasov making his way, and once he got to the group, he took off in pursuit of a stage victory and potentially putting some time between him and the rest of the GC riders. It was then a straight-up brawl between Vlasov, Roglic, Carapaz, Dan Martin, Hugh Carthy, Vlasov. They were all in there, and coming into a kilometre to go, it was Richard Carapaz who would then try an attack from 800 metres out, but Roglic was fast to react to that one. He was straight on him and then boom, straight over the top with a counter-attack, and that will be all she wrote. That was the last anybody would see of him. It was the last nail in the coffin of the rest of the GC riders for that stage victory. Carapaz working his ass off to try and limit his time losses, but Roglic just looking on another level. Like we saw him at the Tour de France, but is he going to be able to maintain it? Who knows? Carapaz had a valiant effort, came over the line 13 seconds down on stage 8 winner Primož Roglic. And you can see there, that's the GC, and that'll go all the way into stage 10 as the riders now face a flat stage 9 where the sprinters will be fighting it out. 13 seconds between Carapaz and Roglic. Still there in third is Dan Martin, Hugh Carthy in fourth, and Enric Mas, who wasn't anywhere to be seen there, 1 minute and 54 seconds down. Let's talk about stage 9 and that sprint.
So stage 9 was one of very few opportunities for the sprinters to take a victory, and it was Sam Bennett who initially crossed the line in first place. However, a good, half an hour to an hour later, they actually ended up disqualifying him, giving Pascal Ackermann the victory, and I think that was his first La Vuelta victory. But why was Sam Bennett disqualified? If you look at the last 200 metres of that sprint, absolutely fine, no deviation of the line. It was prior to that. Within the last kilometre, he did this. Now, back in the early 2000s, probably would have got away with that. Back in the 90s, that would have been considered nothing more than a soft caress of that rider on his left-hand side. But in this day and age, he's going to get disqualified for that. There's absolutely no doubt about it. Not all his own doing, however. The Trek Segafredo rider, Emil Leipins, he was adamant that he was going to get onto that Dq'D quick-step train, but Sam Bennett made it clear that, oi son, do one. I think he potentially could have got away with it if he was a little less aggressive in his approach to trying to push the Trek Segafredo rider off his line. It was a clear, and it was very aggressive, his movements, but it didn't really need to be. Just a holding of position would have been enough. Just a slight lean against him. These guys, don't forget, these guys are professionals. That he would have been able to just give him a little nudge like this. That would have been enough. Or just holding his elbow there and tensing up to not allow the Trek Segafredo rider to bully him out of the way. It was a Trek Segafredo rider who initiated it by trying to get onto that Dq'D quick-step train. And Sam Bennett was just trying to hold his ground, but the way he did it was just far too aggressive. But the whole drama of this this incident played out across Twitter. As you'd expect, the outspoken DS of Dq'D Quickstep, Patrick Lefevre, was quick to jump on Twitter with this comment. What bullshit! Red angry faced emoji. He was in his lead out and the Trek rider want to pull him out of it. But we know already a long time the incompetence of the UCI VAR safety system. I don't think you need VAR, which I think is virtually assisted referee, virtual assistant referee. I don't know, whatever it stands for in football. But you don't need that to. You can view this once and go, yeah, a little bit too much. That bit too aggressive. He's broken the rules set out by the UCI. Disqualified. That's it. End of. He could have got away with it, but the way he went about it, it's a disqualification, and that's the end of it. But the funny thing about this is the Dq'D Quickstep DS tagged in at Trek, which has nothing at all to do with bicycles. It was this guy here who then tweeted this. Some bike person with 50,000 followers said something problematic. RIP my mentions today. You'd have thought he'd have known which Trek he needs to be tagging in it, not some random dude. Anyway, this tweet from La Flamme Rouge is one of my favourites. It's the two emotions of Patrick Lefevre. The two emotions of Lefevre. When a rider crashes, whoever caused it should be jailed. When a rider stays on their bike, everything is fine. There doesn't seem to be any in between. Now you can imagine if the shoe was on the other foot, if it was Bennett that was trying to force his way into another lead-out train and he got the same treatment, the Lefevre would have been all over that, DQing him, chucking him out of the race, jailing the whole team. But because it was his rider, it's racing. It's not racing that. It's luckily no one was hurt, but like look at the aggressiveness of the headbutt and the speed at which he puts Lipins off his line. If that wheel was crossed, even by a mil, with that rider behind that Trek Segafredo rider, boom, all hell's breaking loose. All hell is breaking loose. But luckily, no one came down. But let me know your thoughts down below on this one. Pascal Ackermann ended up taking the victory. Sam Bennett got DQ'd. Do you think that DQ was justifiable, or was it a little bit too much? Was his actions too aggressive? Not aggressive enough for someone who was trying to come into their lead-out train? It'd be interesting to get your thoughts on that one down below. And then sticking with La Vuelta, check out this tweet here. This is Teleporte, some Spanish something. Television, is it, I think? Anyway, look at that helmet. Look, that's the helmets of one of the, is it Caja Roro? I don't know how to pronounce their bloody name. But anyway, it's one of their riders. It was Hector Saez, right? He came down in a crash around 70k left in the stage, so relatively early on. Look at the state of the helmet. I mean, amazing that that's not his skull, and it was the helmet that took the force. But if you've taken a hit to the head that's managed to cause that much damage to a helmet, there's a good chance you're going to be concussed. I mean, we've seen riders in the past. Romain Bardet, I think, came down in, was it the Giro? I can't remember bloody now. I think it was the Giro he came down in. And he suffered some concussion. Shouldn't have probably got on his bike. We've seen other riders in the past who have no signs of damage to the helmet, not like that have got back on the bike, clearly when they shouldn't have. Tour of California, who was it? Leave your comments down below who it was that got back on his bike and he was clearly concussed. And you can't help thinking that this rider shouldn't have been getting back on his bike with damage to the helmet like that. It baffles me that they even let him. The fact that the helmet was there on TV as well and no one took a moment to say, maybe we should just get him back to Team Doctor and check him out. Anyway, I don't really know what to say to that. It's just unbelievable. You rarely see crash damage like that in a bike race, really, do you? Unless it's just because we never get to see it on TV. I don't know, but bizarre that one, they showed it, and two, that they allowed him to get back on his bike and ride. Baffles me, that one. And before we move on from La Vuelta, check out this little video from Cycling Out of Context. Eesh, have it. Oops. That was a good shot, that was. I mean, that is certainly the second best bottle throw at a motorcycle rider during a race there has ever been.
The team car, Can't quite make his mind up right now. Oh
dear.
He's not having a nice day.
Very good shot. Because
A good old Mario Cipollini. Anyway, let's crack on with the rest of the news. Next up, and one rider whose season's finished, and if you read a lot of the press and Twitter, you'll think his blooming career's over, but Peter Sagan has been talking to Gazzetta dello Sport about his season and how he wants to carry on cycling and has no intentions of retiring yet. Speaking to Gazzetta dello Sport, he said, "Right, geez, when you win a lot, right, you raise people's expectations, but often there's only a centimetre between first and second, but people only ever remember the winner, don't they? I do my best and I don't listen to what people say. I take what I can get. I don't have a Giro stage win on my Palmares, now I do. That makes me happy. I like the way I want it, by going on the attack, suffering, fighting for it. I think people like the way I want it too. That's important to me. It can't be compared to a world title or anything, but it'll always have a special place in my heart. You know what? Everything changes. No one is the same as they were a decade ago. It's the same for us racers. But I still want to race. I still like cycling. Not necessarily indoor cycling though, you know what I'm saying? I'm happy with what impact I have and how the fans enjoy what I do. Every season is more difficult. I think each season is different. If I win 20 races in 2021, I'm sure people will quickly say I'm back. That'd be wrong too. I'm here. I ain't done yet, son." Now, we spoke about this over the Tour de France. We spoke about it over the Giro as well. He got that brilliant, was it stage 10? Stage 10 win over on the Giro when him and Swifty were in a breakaway, and he just left Swifty, well, he left everyone for dead, didn't he? He went on the attack a la Peter Sagan 2015 Paris-Roubaix. Could have been 2015, I might, 16, 17? I can't remember. Anyway, when he went on that long old break in the Paris-Roubaix and ended up winning it. It was an amazing win, and it sure changed those opinions of everybody who have been writing him off. Not necessarily been writing him off, and it's not the fact that he's talented. But what you've got a rider who's getting older, a rider who's now got a family. Then you've got these younger riders who are willing to take more risks. It's the same in pretty much any sport. You get the young blood. He at one point, when he was riding for Cannondale, was the young blood who was coming and just smashing everyone to bits, just totally fearless. But now he's that little bit older. He's lost that tiny, like 1% that you need to get yourself over the line in that first position. And then you've got these younger riders who are just so bloody talented. And it accentuates his, not necessarily downfall, but his status of where he once was. So you've got these new riders coming along, him just losing a tiny bit of speed, and it's easy to see why people write him off. But come on, it's Peter Sagan. He's still got plenty of life left in him, and he can, if he's smart enough, he can still win races. And clearly, he's still got a passion for the sport. But let me know your comments down below on that one, if you've got any at all. You might not have. What do you think Peter Sagan's 2021 season is going to look like? Do you think he can find a bit more form that he needs to potentially win those classics races that he wants to, and go ahead and maybe win an 8th green jersey? I don't know. Leave your comments down below. And then let's finish off with this story. Come on, let's be honest. Everyone was hoping December 31st, COVID was just going to disappear. That we were going to start 2021 with a fresh, brand new slate. No one was going to get ill. No one was going to die. It was all going to be fine, but clearly that's not going to be the case. And already the 2021 season is getting hit. The Tour Down Under 2021 and Cadell's Great Ocean Race are imminently going to be cancelled. Over on Cycling Tips, they say the 2021 Tour Down Under and Cadell's race to be cancelled, citing that the quarantine requirements were a sticking point for teams making the long international journey from Europe, where a second wave of the virus continues to escalate. Case numbers are comparatively mild in Australia, where a recent spike and 111-day lockdown in Victoria has highlighted the fragility of the equilibrium with restrictions on international arrivals and mandatory 14-day quarantine periods. No two ways about it, that sucks. However, Australia's stringent 14-day quarantine period is going to put a lot of the riders off, because potentially they would have to get out there 14 days early, which might not be too bad to acclimatise to it, but then hope that they don't get said virus, then race, and then potentially come back to Europe and have to quarantine for another 14 days. They could potentially get all the way to Australia, have a test prior to the event starting, get told that they've tested positive for it or they've shown symptoms for it, pulled out of the race, and then it's a long old trip, innit? It's not like I can go from Belgium to the Netherlands, get there and go, oh, you've got it, head back, and it's like an hour down the road. This is like a 24-hour trip just to go and potentially get told that you can't go and race. So I can understand why it's putting a lot of the European riders off. So as I say, it's not been cancelled as yet, but it's on the cards, and it's imminent that it will be announced shortly that the Tour Down Under and Cadel Great Ocean Race will be cancelled, which sucks. And don't forget, before we go, if you're into your indoor cycling, if you want to join the group ride, Wahoo and Le Col, fueled by SIS group ride on Thursday, 6:30 UK time. There's a link down in the description. Go and get yourself signed up. I'll be leading it. Tim Fulford will be sweeping it, and we'll just have some fun in the old chat. Thanks for watching, everybody. If you've not done already, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. If you dislike the video for whatever reason, hit that dislike button and go and enjoy some GCN content instead. I will see you on Monday.